know I'm early. I thought I was going to be a couple minutes late because we were having technical difficulties, but it looks like I made it not only on time, but early. You have to forgive the loud roars of children. It's Christmas, man. It's family time. So we're going to do this Q&A, have a little bit of fun tonight. Hopefully all of you are doing well, getting ready to enjoy a Christmas and or any other holidays you celebrate or do not celebrate. Either way, I'm looking forward to chatting with all of you. Let's go ahead and pop out the chat on you. Let us pop out the chat on YouTube and holler at the people on Facebook. So, YouTube, what's happening? How's everybody doing? You having a great wrap up as we get on the seventh inning stretch into Christmas? Hopefully you are. For those of you who are watching after the fact, this is a live broadcast that I'm starting to do every Friday night, 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, to answer your questions as they relate to anything life strategy. So we're talking about helping you build the pillars of the good life, as you may have heard people like Ty Lopez talk about the health, wealth, love, and happiness. I take a slightly different approach, but we have the same end goal in mind, which is to make life happy and to make life good for the people that we come in contact with, right? So I focus on what our good friend, you can see it on YouTube, Facebook you can't see it, it's a little off screen there. Our good friend Sun Tzu over here in your right-hand corner of the camera. Sun Tzu's right here for YouTube. So Sun Tzu has this philosophy in his book that the person that knows their enemy and knows themselves will never have to fear the outcomes of 100 encounters. That's a really long-winded way to say, listen, if you are what I call violently self-aware, hello, Claudia, how you doing? If you're what I call violently self-aware or intensely self-aware, where sometimes people are put off by the fact that I use the word violent, but I don't mean violent in the context of harming people. I mean violent like a violent hurricane, right? It's intense. If you are intensely self-aware and intent with yourself, intensely self-aware and intensely aware of the challenges that you face in life and why they are the way they are, then you can start to take action that guarantees your success. Okay, now what I'm not saying is it's going to guarantee that you have an easy life or an easy path or that you're not going to encounter resistance or that you're not going to run into challenges and problems. You absolutely are. Okay, I believe like the obstacle is the way teaches from Ryan Holiday over here. This little book right here on YouTube, Facebook, this book right here, okay? That the challenges we face, in my opinion, are actually divinely inspired to create us and mold us into the person that's worthy of our prayers for happiness, our prayers for a good life. The challenges that we face are designed to mold us into the character that's worthy of the life that we want to walk into. So clearly, I prayed for something amazing based on the last 2 years that I've had. Anyway, I truly believe that your success is guaranteed because when you understand what Sun Tzu says, you will begin to make much better decisions. The more you become self-aware, the more you become aware of what your desired outcomes are and what the resistance is that keeps you from getting there, then you're going to make decisions that help you avoid. Like I talk often about, I remember the first job I had where I was making six figures, and most people would be like, oh my God, six figures, that's so much money. And it's really not. Especially when, well, relatively speaking, it could be a ton of money for somebody. But for my existence, simply making six figures is not a ton of money, given the fact that I have many children and I live in one of the most expensive places to live in the United States, right? So now that's all by choice. I could go live in Wyoming. I don't want to, though. So I talk about how when I took that job, I took it for two reasons. One, its location. I've always kind of had a rule that you should always work close to where you live. Just makes life easier when you don't have to commute. And I used to have a crazy commute. I remember I used to have to go 14 miles and it always took me over an hour. It's crazy. But the other thing was the money was good. And what I teach here as the result of having that experience is never ever chase the money. I don't care how good the money is. If you know, and now granted, when I went into that job, I had no idea that I was walking into the Twilight Zone nightmare of a gig. And this was many years ago. This is certainly not, within like the last 2 years or something. But it was very, very challenging for me in that space. And I just remember thinking, now I get it. When people who have money talk about money doesn't make you happy, although, like my mentor says, money can certainly make you comfortable while you're miserable. And he always says it's better to be rich than it is to be broke. But at the same time, it's I needed more than that. I needed to be in a place where my values were respected and the things that I wanted to accomplish in conjunction with what the company wanted to accomplish, which interestingly enough, what I wanted to accomplish and what the company said it wanted to accomplish were not on the same sheet of music. Okay, not even close to the same sheet of music. So that made it very hard for me because there was a lack of authenticity there. Oh, look at that. My wife is watching. I just saw her pop up on the Facebook feed. And that's something that we talk about. So the point there being, I use that story to illustrate to you all that when, like Sun Tzu says, you understand yourself, I was not self-aware enough. I thought that I could take this easy gig, make a bunch of money, it would help me launch my business. And but while I was there, I'd make rank, I would progress because I know I'd be able to come in and do a really good job. And what I realized was a good job to these folks was stroking egos of people in charge, not actually doing a good job. So that was hard for me. I'm not that guy. I'm not an ego stroking, play the game type of dude. I'm a mission guy. I come from working with some what I consider to be the world's most elite warriors, doing things and doing activities designed to save people, to keep people alive and protect people. Right. So anyway, the more we can be self-aware, the more we can understand why the challenges we face are there and what makes them what they are, the easier it becomes to overcome them. So when you understand that, what I mean by guaranteed success is that if you stay on that path, that perpetual learning, that's one of the core values in my company. When people join my company, one of the first things they see virtually, because very few people that I work with in my company live close to me. Actually, it's about half and half. But I have people that work with me that live as far as the UK. In fact, she may log on tonight at some point if she's not already here. And one of the first things they see is our mission, what we're actually designed to do, what we're working on to make the world a better place, and our core values. And one of our core values is we are perpetual learners. We are always learning, right? And we should always be learning. And the more you do that, the closer and closer and closer you're going to get to your goals. All right. So I designed this Q&A as an opportunity for many of you who follow me for this type of information. Many of you have watched my personality type videos. All of that is designed. As much as I talk about, I don't even really like the Myers-Briggs too much. Like, I like it for what it's actually good at, which is starting you on the process of what I call self-actualization, and self-discovery. But it's not my favorite thing. But I know a lot of people are interested in it, so I use it as a means to reach you all and to bring you even more and even greater information than you can find than what's just associated with that test. And that's the core of everything that I'm doing. At the end of the day, like, if you had to sum up our vision statement in one sentence, it's to leave the world better than we found it. And that's a military thing. That comes from my time in military experience. And hold on, my wife just said something that flashed on screen but did not stay on screen. My wife is hilarious, man. You could have wrote that in the chat. But anyway, these Q&As are designed to give you all the opportunity to ask me questions related to your life, whether it's in the areas of self-awareness, personality type, experiences that you're having, whether it's in the area of relationships, what would fall under that love pillar. Remember, when I say love, because I say I love you guys at the end of every video, I'm not talking about romantic, awkwardness. I'm talking about the real definition of love, which the greatest definition of love is this: greater love have no person on this earth than to lay down his or her life for their friends. Right? And that's actually a scripture. It's a Bible quote, but it's true. Greater love has no man than this, that he would lay down his life for his friends. And what I'm doing is a figurative version of that. I'm laying down my life in my time, right? I could be upstairs playing with my family that you can hear screaming, on the video. But right now, I'm taking time away from that to impart something beneficial to all of you. Okay, and that's really what we live for here. So it could be in the areas of love. It could be in the areas of health. And health isn't just physical. Sometimes it's psychological. Sometimes it's emotional. Right? Sometimes you just need to know that you're heard and somebody actually gives a crap about you. Well, here you are. You're in a place where people give a crap about you, but will also impart knowledge to you that helps you get around other people who also have your back, not just virtually, but in your real life. Maybe in the areas of wealth, maybe you're trying to enhance your career. I talk a lot about that. And frankly, I talk a lot about my career failures. I don't get on YouTube and talk about I've had this illustrious career. Now, I've had a great career. Don't get me wrong. I've been very successful. Sometime at some points more successful than at other times. I had a lot of great success early in my career, into my in my 20s, and then when I turned 30, and then for a good number of years it kind of flatlined. And then I started my business, etc., etc. So um, I like to share my failures better, because I think, one, that's more relatable. If I just got up here and told you I've made over $1 million in my life, like, nobody wants to hear that. They want to hear, how did you get to this point? What things did you screw up? And believe me, we could do a whole show of just me screwing up stuff. So that's health, that's wealth, that's love, and then overall it's happiness, what I like to call serenity and joy, because I think happiness is circumstantial. I don't usually like using that word, even though Sigmund Freud would say that the sole purpose of our lives, when you boil everything down, it's wanting to be happy. I'd take it a step further and say I want to be joyous, because joy can exist even when the circumstances don't necessarily permit it. When I think back to fighting a war with my brothers that I went downrange with, and I think back now, during the time it was hard and it was nasty, but when I look back on some of the memories that I have with those men, it brings joy to my heart. Like, that was a joyous time of my life, right? So let's go ahead and get into the Q&A. Like I said, I don't want to take up too much time on these videos because you only got me for an hour. Get your questions in. I highly encourage all of you to submit your questions before these calls. Remember, Friday Night Live is now Friday nights, 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here in my office by the fireplace with the samurai katana blade and some of my favorite books. Not all of them are up here. I would encourage you every week to get your questions in beforehand, because then I can go right into answering them. And let's say that you can't make it to the call, or you come late, you may not get a chance to ask your question. But if you already turned it in, then I can just go ahead and read it off of one of my other devices. And then even if you missed the show, you can go back to the replay and watch me answer your question. All right, so let's get into it. Let's look at YouTube. We've got Taj Marie says, hello, what's up? Undeservingly blessed. I like your name. If only everybody realized that's what all of us are. Happy holidays, brother. Happy holidays to you. Claudia says, hello. What's up, Claudia? Taj Marie says, happy holidays, everyone. Daniel Lagos says, hi. What's up, Daniel? Ray says, hi, all. Mr. Raymondo says, yo, Brian, real question. Do you do Q&A on Chatterbaits? No, I do not. I am Peter Cole says, AB. Figured I would watch this while editing. That's a good call, man. The overly emotional female says, hey, what's happening, Bryant? How can I be a better decision maker? Help me. So what I said at the beginning of the video, if you weren't here, was the more self-aware you are, the better decisions you're going to make. It's that simple. One of the reasons why I focus such a great amount of my content on personality type and things that I learn about studying psychology and evolutionary psychology and the psychology of happiness, things like Dr. Jonathan Haidt and Dr. Robert Cialdini with influence. A lot of the reasons why I do so much psychological discussions is because the more self-aware you are, you're going to make better decisions. It's that simple. And what I find the biggest challenge, and the main underlying reason why I do what I do here, is the main challenge is most people don't think enough. We're such on autopilot, and we've become these automatons that just get up, drink our coffee, go to work so we can make money, get home, play a video game, hopefully, cuddle with someone and then go to sleep. We don't take time to stop, hold up. Is my life even going in the right direction? Am I doing all the things that I want to be doing? Right? And if I'm not, what do I need to change to get it there? And am I willing to put in the night after night after night, grinding and grinding and grinding to get that square? Okay, so the more self-aware you can be, and one of the best ways to do it, honestly, not tooting my own horn, is to watch the content that I produce and to watch all of it. Like if you like my Myers-Briggs content, that's why most of you are here. Don't just watch that content. Watch the cognitive biases. Watch the 69 pillars. Watch the logical fallacies when I make that. Watch breaking down Proverbs because you're going to learn about yourself and about the way the world actually works. If you're following me on Facebook, let me say that again. If you're not following me on Facebook, you missed a huge post that I did this week about why your resume is worthless, right? And that's about getting better jobs and the way that I've always been able, not in every case, sometimes I've been put in jobs where I was like, but for the most part, 98% of my career has been getting into jobs that I wanted to do because of what I taught in that post, right? And I made a video about it too. And the problem is, if you're not following me on Facebook, there's 10,000, actually there's 25,000 of you plus here on just YouTube alone, right? If you're not following me on Facebook, and I know you're not because there's only like 2,000 people following me there, then you're missing content that I'm putting out. Same thing goes for Instagram. Instagram's become my book list. All right. So that's what I'm saying is you got to keep, and don't just watch me. I'm saying watching me is a great idea, but watch Tony Robbins, watch Jordan Peterson, watch Tim Ferriss, watch Gary Vaynerchuk, watch Ty Lopez. I know Ty Lopez catches a lot of crap because he puts, supermodels in his videos and Lamborghinis, but make no mistake, that's smart because he realized I want to talk about, and I do the same thing, I just don't use models, and I'll tell you how I do it. He uses that because if he just got on there and talked about books, and I've tested both, if he just got on there and talked about reading books, nobody would watch that. Literally, even if he was like, I'm a billionaire who reads books, no one would watch it because we have this out of balance need or desire as human beings to be entertained. So he entertains first, and then he goes into sharing information. I do the same thing with Myers-Briggs content because I know people are so hungry for that. They want to discover themselves. If I got on here and told you all the things that are wrong with the Myers-Briggs test and the studies that have been done at different universities and cited white papers that have been written about why the test is nonsense, you wouldn't listen to that. I mean, you'd listen to the first video and then be annoyed because you believe in that, right? I could do the same thing for horoscopes. I could crap all over that, but I don't. Instead, I meet you where you are and I say, look, this is what we understand about the Myers-Briggs, but there's even more if you're willing to dig. There's even more here if you're willing to digest it. Right? But I use content that I know you're interested in first. So the only difference is Ty is doing a version of it that is offensive to more people. Why, I don't know. Like, he hangs out with pretty people and he drives nice cars. I have no godly idea why that's offensive to people. It's not like the women are naked or being, well, maybe there was one video where they were kind of being objectified. But knowing Ty and that he does certain things on purpose to push people away, that doesn't surprise me. But when you dig below all that and you listen to what he's actually teaching, I can tell you right now, Ty has been one of my coaches. He helped me pretty much double the income that I was making with at the time, which was a side hustle, which is now my primary business, right? He helped me double that side hustle. I was a person chilling with like 8,000 subscribers on YouTube, and I was making more money every month, and still am, than people with way more followers who are making McDonald's money, and they're making 3 videos a day, and I'm making 3 videos maybe a week. And really, I'm making 3 videos on Sunday, and then I just put them out at different times, right? So those are the people you should be learning from. Let's see. Logan Saylor says, I just started watching your videos today on INFP people. I like you don't take the 16 personalities too seriously. I like reading about my personality. Everything I read was spot on, but I want to see the rest of this comment. Wait a minute. Come on, Facebook. Let me see the comment, yo. All right, Logan. I don't know, Logan, if you finished your comment or not. But Facebook looks like it cut it off. It says, but I don't want, and then it stopped there. And then Logan went to YouTube and says, but I don't want to feel pressured into acting as my personality type all the time. Of course not. That's one of my fundamental problems with the Myers-Briggs test is that the way the test has been designed, and I don't believe, and frankly, I don't know for sure that Dr. Carl Jung's initial motivation was, I'm going to make these 16 comfortable boxes of binary choices that people have to make. I just don't think it was that black and white. as a person of his intelligence level and the circles that he ran in. I think people have tried to turn it into that because people struggle with what's called the certainty bias in the cognitive biases. In other words, you have default settings in your brain that have helped you survive for many thousands of years, but they don't necessarily work in today's world because the circumstances and the rules of the game are different. So we want to be certain, we want to know things. And so it's much easier to say, these are the rules and this is exactly how we're supposed to live every single day. Tell me the 16 things I'm supposed to do to be successful. And that's how a lot of people want to live. Like if you've ever met a person that's just a stickler for rules, even if the rule isn't getting done, what like rules are made to make things work, right? It's like writing an algorithm for a computer. But if the algorithm is no longer creating the solution that you need, then you have to go back and change the rules. All right. So, but when you find someone that's just married to the rules for the sake of the rules, that's a certainty bias thing. They don't like change. They don't like any level of things not being predictable. And so you get people that are just, I am an ENTJ, and by God, you won't tell me. And it's like, well, like I said, some of the best advice I ever got in my life was, and I wish I remember who said it. They said, nobody is always anything. I'm not always joyful, right? I'm not always aggressive. Sometimes I've had people call me a teddy bear, which is hilarious because if they were in my life and hung around me, they know there ain't too much teddy bear going on. But there's times where I'm gentle. I have small kids. Of course, I'm not going to be, Mr. G.I. Joe all the time. But yeah, I wouldn't get married to it. I'd use it for what, you know, adapt and bring on what makes sense to you if something doesn't fit. No one said you had to believe every word of it. It's not 100%. It's not like the law of gravity, where if you're an ENTJ, you must be this, or if you're an INFP, you must be this. We just don't know enough. At this point, we're still studying. Uh, let's see. Ray says, speaking of questions, what's your version of work-life counterbalance, as Gary Keller talks about in his book, The One Thing, Brian? Exactly the way he talks about it, brother. It's sometimes I'm all the way in. I mean, there have been nights, I lie to you not, where I've gone to do my work in the day, and then I've gone to networking meetings and gone to meet with a mentor, had lunch with some brothers that I do business with, and I get home and I didn't get to see my kids at all that day, except for when I kissed them in the morning when they were still sleeping, when I rolled out to go start having my meetings. And I would get home. There's been nights where I've got home at midnight, right? And then there's days where, like, what's tomorrow? Saturday, Christmas Eve, I'm not doing jack. Not gonna happen. I'm not working Christmas Eve at all. I'm gonna spend that entire time with my family. So I counterbalance just based on the needs of the business and the needs of my family. And I prioritize, for me, family comes first. But sometimes the business coming first is the family coming first, if that makes sense. Right? So sometimes I will work 18-hour days like you hear people like Gary Vaynerchuk talk about, because I have to, in order, like I'm in the process of growing my business right now. Like right now, we're eating, we're doing okay, nobody's starving to death. But I'm in a position where now I have people who are supporting me that I want to grow the business so that I can take care of them too, right? And take care of my family better than I'm doing right now. Like right now, I have a father that just passed away, and I want to be able to take care of my mother. Okay, right now we're not in a place where I can do that based on what we're bringing in. So I'm working to grow it. So there are nights where I'm just like, look, I got to grind. I got to do this work. I got to work with clients. I got to meet these clients. I got to go. I remember coming home from the gym one night, hurry up, I got to take a shower, and then I got to get right back out and go meet a potential client at Starbucks just to find out that they couldn't afford any part of my services. But that's part of the game. But then there's days where I will turn all this stuff off and I'll play video games with my son. I'll go outside and play football with him. I'll go to, we'll take the kids to grandma's house, or like we'll go to GameStop. That's something that I do with my boys. We just go hang out at GameStop for an hour. It's just a thing that we do. And then come home and watch movies, and I don't touch it. I won't even bust my phone out. So you have to figure out what works for you. And remember, it all starts with what you're trying to accomplish, right? It all, like right now, I am working to accomplish building a business that's making enough money to bring in and take care of a team and move my family to a self-sustaining farm that allows me to take care of the agriculture and provide good, healthy food to an entire community. That is my current end game, right? And then once we accomplish that, we'll move on to whatever the next goal is. But that is my number one goal right now. And sometimes it means I got to take time away from the family to make it happen. But the family is going to benefit so much better. But again, whatever your goals are, that's how you have to figure out how to counterbalance. Don't try to counterbalance without defining. My wife and I literally sat down and mapped out, okay, we want to grow this business to this level, right? Because remember, I can only grow the business so far without putting in more work. So I can't grow it to the point where then I'm working 20 hours a day and only sleeping 4, no time for my family. So it's like, we're going to grow this business to this level, this part of the business to this level, this part of the business to this level. We're going to cut this. We've cut some parts of our business. We don't do it anymore. We'll pick it back up later down the road when we have more room. So it's got to start with written out goals that you're trying to accomplish. Usually when I find people are struggling to counterbalance, it's because you don't really have a definitive North Star that you're shooting toward. Let's see what we got here. Good question, Ray. I really like that question, by the way. Taj Marie says, and by the way, for those of you who are watching, if you don't know what Ray and I are talking about, there's a book called The One Thing by Gary Keller. In my coaching programs, that book is mandatory reading. I think that book should be mandatory reading for everybody 10 years and older. You know, my son has read it. I don't know why. You know, we read To Kill a Frickin' Mockingbird instead. Anyway, I'm not going to get on my school soapbox tonight. I only have an hour. Taj Marie says, not to be in a box, I'm an INTJ female in my 30s, and I don't mentally relate well to my mother, who is more emotional and sometimes smothering. How do I, let me close this other window on my computer because it's ridiculous. How do I strike a balance and maintain boundaries? So let me pull you out of the Myers-Briggs for a second. Just 1 second. No disrespect to your personality type. Everything that you just pointed out to me, you don't mentally relate well to your mother, who is more emotional. The hexacode test that I just shot a video for tonight, well, I shot it last night, but I uploaded it tonight. One of its categories that it measures you in is emotionality. So it may be that you as an INTJ score very low in emotionality, right? And your mother may score high. What's in emotionality? Anxiety, neuroticism, sentimentality, things that for an INTJ you may not really deal with. As an ENTJ, me and my mother have this same challenge. She has much higher anxiety and neuroticism than I do, and we all have some, right? But she would score way higher than me. And it makes it hard, and she scores off the charts in sentimentality. I'm like bottom of the barrel. So it means there's certain types of respect and engagement that she's looking for from me that she's not getting, and she can feel disrespected or unloved when it's in no way. Like, I've seen INTJs run companies, and the company's just like, this guy is so cold, he doesn't care about us. And nothing could be further from the truth. Like, I've talked to this cat. Like, he cares deeply about what's going on here. He's just the freaking CEO and doesn't necessarily have time to address the fact that, you know, the sausage at the breakfast buffet wasn't fresh. Like, you know, so I would actually, if your mother's into the Myers-Briggs, have you both take the hexacode test. Because what it'll show you is that you may be scoring a little bit lower than you want to in agreeableness, right? And she may be scoring, you may be scoring lower in emotionality, she's scoring higher, but you may be scoring a little bit lower in agreeableness. And there may be some things about your personality type that you need to adjust. One of the problems I have with Myers-Briggs is that someone will say, I'm an INTJ, so this is just the way I am. And that's not true at all. You can adjust behavior. Like, most people, when they interact with me online, for example, they get my Myers-Briggs personality type wrong. Well, why is that? Because a lot of how I present is trained. It's not my default setting. You know, I don't talk like this when I'm having a conversation with my friends. Not quite like this. I don't present. I may not use, in some of the language I use, like there's a lot of Myers-Briggs zealots who are like, the language you use means you're, it's like, okay, that's a correlation. But you also don't understand that I came from a business where my job was to keep my friends alive and kill people trying to kill us. The language we use is quite a bit different than the budget manager over at Xerox. You feel me? So I would say don't fall into the pigeonholing yourself. Study, take the hexaco test, see the areas where you score a little bit lower than you probably could, and there's some adjustments that you can make showing empathy that can probably bridge the gap with you and your mother if she is a bit more emotional than you are. Logan says, I like your views on cutting people out of your life who are taking advantage of you. My dad would 100% agree. He has 100% cut ties with all his siblings, unfortunately. It is unfortunate, but sometimes it's what has to be done. Maybe not forever. Maybe not forever, right? It's just, if people are abusing you, you got to step. I mean, I don't have immediate family where we have it like that, but I have close family who their family, right? Like their ancestors were just a nightmare. And so they just severed ties. Wasn't the optimal. Nobody wanted that to be the reality, but it had to be the reality for mental and emotional stability. Let's see. Jacob Shirley says, simple question here. Can INFJ, me, and ENTJ, my significant other, have a chance at solid, long-lasting relationship? So I don't like to do relationships Myers-Briggs. The answer is yes, but it has nothing to do with you being an INFJ and her being an ENTJ. Literally nothing. Take the hexacode test. Find out, one, or do you score high in agreeableness, and do you score high in openness to experience, openness to new experience? If you score high, if both of you score high in those, you'll be just fine. If you score low, you're probably going to want to do some work. And by the way, that's if you get into a relationship with anybody. Because even if you married your exact type, that's going to mask some things. I'll give you an example. My wife and I have quite a few differences, but we have some areas where we're alike. Unfortunately, one of the areas where we're alike is a weakness for both of us. It's not necessarily good. Now, if I were really strong in it and she was really weak in it, that could be potential for some friction. Like, why don't you step up your game? But if I have empathy for her and realize this just isn't her jam, I can be like, oh, I can just help her, or I can be the one that does this, right? But when we're both weak, yeah, we kind of forgive each other because we both kind of stink at it, but that means we're not as effective as we could be. And we might be better off if we're both very high in agreeableness, which makes our relationship work really well. But it would probably be better if one of us was more anal than the other one, and we're both not anal at all. So certain things we probably need to be anal about. Let's see. Does that say Lariba? I'm having trouble reading the screen because it's a little bit far away from me. Laribi, if I'm saying your name wrong, please correct me. Hi, I'm 23 years old, planning to start my own company next year, and your goals are similar to mine. If there's one thing that you can give me as advice, what would it be? Thank you for your effort. Find the person who's doing what you want to be doing and who's at the top of their game and go learn from them. Now, if it's a person you can't get access to, find out if they've written a book, find out if they do any type of content on YouTube. I'll tell you one great resource that I love to use is interviews. Like all the successful people that I look up to, I find interviews that they've done with really good interviewers because they always give their secrets away. They always do. Like Alton Brown did an interview. He's the person I look up to now. And I look up to Alton Brown as a content creator, as a creative person, because he figured out how to make a TV show that I actually want to watch because I don't really like watching TV. And I was like, what are the elements that made this whole thing work? And he answered it in an interview. He said, well, if I can make you laugh, then I can infect you with knowledge. And I was like, oh, snap. Because I'm a dude that doesn't need a whole lot of entertainment. Like if you're giving me solid knowledge that's empowering my life, I'm entertained. I don't need to laugh and giggle. But he did both. And his show resonates even better than a lot of other things. And he's so a lot of times on my shows, I will do humorous things. I had a video where I started swinging my sword around trying to get YouTube's adpocalypse thing. And this was on my marketing channel. I was trying to teach people about the adpocalypse. So I pulled out my sword and was swinging it around. And I pulled out a Nerf gun. And at first, YouTube did say we can't monetize this, but then they eventually released it. But it was to prove a point to my audience that they were focusing on the wrong things, that YouTube needs to monetize in a different way that's beneficial to advertisers. They're not so much worried about cussing and swords, right? Uh, but totally find the people who are winning. Like I've gone and met Joel Salatin, who is been doing what I want to do longer than I've been alive. I went and met him. I went to his farm, shook his hand. He signed my book, Joel Salatin, right? And if you don't know Joel Salatin, he's the good guy from the movie Food Inc. And he's kind of the godfather, grandmaster of this organic movement that we're on. I'm grossly oversimplifying his wonderful career. I went and met with him. I have a local mentor that coached in a program that I bought, and then I've met up with him in real life, and now he helps me. Like literally, he helps me grow my business, right? And he teaches me and he coaches me, and he'll come and look at the stuff that I'm doing because he's got tons more years of experience in sales. Like I have always been on the service side of business, and I've always worked with like military veterans, so I don't have to sell as much when I'm working with people. When I already speak their language, I have an immediate rapport because we have similar experiences, and I'm proven as a person that can do what I do. But when I wanted to expand my business, I needed to learn how to do sales better. And so Joe has been killing that for me, just helping me get better at that. Right. So go and find people that are winning at what you want to do and learn from them. I run on the side, and I don't get, there's no money at all involved in this. I do it for free. An outreach program for military combat veterans, people who've been in direct combat and struggle making that transition to civilian life. And I read two books by Lieutenant Colonel Dave Grossman, who's now a doctor of psychology, and he's written the book on the psychology behind combat and killing. And I read his books and I reached out to him. I was like, sir, I got to learn from you. I got to make sure that what I'm doing to teach these people on the internet is right. And your books, like I cried during the second book. Both books changed my life. And he was like, yeah. So he reached back out to me. This is a person that I learned from. Got to do it. It's the best way to it's the best way to shorten the learning curve, to make it go more quickly. I have a public speaking coach. Like a lot of people think, oh, you're such a good public speaker. Well, it's because I practice it and I have people that teach me how to be better at it. It's not all natural. I would totally, like, so for example, I sell a marketing program. It's an education and training program online called the Social Media Ninja Academy. A lot of you that follow me know about it, right? So it helps small businesses, entrepreneurs, and entertainers do their, like, teaches them how to do their marketing and how to do sales and to do it better so that they can make money doing what they love. It's something that I'm very passionate about. Well, the program is freaking amazing, right? And right now, by the way, you can get into it. It's $1,000 program. You can get into it for $15. We'll talk more about that at the end of the show. But the point is, it's an amazing program that I did not know when I started it because it was literally the first product I had ever sold. I've been selling services in management and leadership coaching my whole existence. That's easy. But now I'm selling a product and I had no clue. And that's where a person like Joe comes in and helps me. And a person like Ty, I've learned from him. I've learned from even my public speaking coach, who's also a serial entrepreneur, has taught me how to sell better, right? So I have to know some of these psychological things that make people buy. And I have to get out of me because I don't need all that. Like when I'm ready to buy something, it's not as, the process for me is usually a great deal shorter than for most people. Right? I saw a person, like, matter of fact, what made me get into Ty's programs is he ate a salad on screen. I was like, I'm like this dude already because he's clearly eating that salad to make people angry. And that's totally something I would do because I think it's hilarious. And I've learned in business, sometimes you want to push certain people away, like people who are hypersensitive and people who are high maintenance. You don't want to work with them. They're a pain, no matter how much money they give you. And by the way, those people are usually like, there's a correlation between the people who spend the least amount of money with you are usually the biggest pain in the butt. The people who've spent the most amount of money with me, some of them have been giving me money for years and they don't even watch my stuff. They just, you just money. Just, you're cool. I love what you do. Money. Never have a challenge with those people. In fact, that person helped me make money on top of the money they were giving me. The person that gives you, $5, they're like, hey man, listen, remember that time I gave you $5? Listen, bro. Hey, hey, you got time tonight to do a 3 hour call with me? Like, what? No, I got kids. You do a 3 hour call for $5. All right. And I'm joking, of course. Let's see. Nair says, hello, happy holidays. I'm having troubles with college. I'm studying what I really love, although I never have good results with my projects. And I don't know if I need to realize that I'm simply not good enough. That's not true, but let me keep reading. Because I suck at it, or keep fighting because that's what I love and want to do and want to be good at. How can we distinguish between our limitations from our obstacles? So let me just say this: when it comes to college, whatever you're studying, it has very little to do with whether or not you are good enough. Okay, so let's say that one's off the table, right? It's off you. And listen, I have evidence that I sucked. Like, if I could get through college, and I almost didn't, by the way, at the day of graduation, I still was not supposed to graduate because of a technicality, because I got a D in a class. I graduated because the dean of my school let me graduate. I was by the book. I wasn't supposed to. Okay? But here's the deal. Please do yourself a favor. If I had an extra copy of it, because I give this book out to people when I meet with them, I would mail it to you. Go on Amazon tonight. Please buy a book called Managing Oneself by... You know what? Hold on. I'm going to show it to you. Stand by. Let me get off camera real quick. All right, here we go. Don't mind the fact that I'm wearing basketball shorts with my sweater. That's how I roll, G. It's my call and do what I want. Okay, so that call came from YouTube. Right here. Let me turn the lights down so it doesn't white itself out. Okay, Managing Oneself by Peter Drucker. Please, it's like $5. Go get this book, and I might even be able to find the part that I want you to focus on. It's the chapter on how to, and by the way, this is like 50 pages. It's a tiny book. You can read this in an hour. All right, how do I learn is where I want to be. What are my strengths? Give me a second, good people. I'll get to your question too. How do I perform? How do I learn? The second thing to know about how one performs is to know how one learns. Many first-class writers, Winston Churchill is but one example, do poorly in school. So Winston Churchill had your same problem. We wouldn't say he wasn't good enough. They tend to remember their schooling as pure torture. Me. The explanation is that writers do not, as a rule, learn by listening and reading. They learn by writing. Schools everywhere are organized on the assumption that there's only one right way to learn. This is why I get on my school soapbox all the time. That's my primary beef with schools. There's one right way to learn, and that it's the same way for everybody. But to be forced to learn the way school teaches is sheer hell for students who learn differently. Some people learn by doing, right? That's partially, and you probably learn to differing degrees in all of these, but you're going to have one that stands out, right? Some people learn by doing. Others learn by hearing themselves talk. This dude, right? To manage yourself effectively, you have to ask, I'm skipping ahead. But it's what you need to figure out. Do I learn by listening? Do I learn by writing? Do I learn by reading? Or do I learn by doing or talking? Okay? And so what you can do is you can test it. I still want you to read this whole book, but I gave you the cliff notes that you care about. So I think if you're struggling with class, we can rule out you probably don't learn by listening, right? If you're taking a ton of notes, maybe you also don't learn by writing, okay? So you may learn by talking or doing or reading. And so I want you to test it. If you're not taking notes in class, take a ton of notes and see if that helps you retain information and actually be able to use the information when it's important. Also, every night, going forward from now until you figure it out, every night after class, I want you to go home, get your phone out, and I want you to film yourself teaching as if you were talking to a room like I am right now, like I'm talking to you guys. Film yourself teaching what you just learned. Like, actually go back through, here's what we learned today. And it doesn't have to be perfect. Just talk about what you remember. Here's what we learned. And this is a drill I do with my kids because I know my son's a lot like me. He learns by talking. So he would struggle in class. And so every day after school, I'd pull him aside. So tell me 3 cool things you learned today. Well, I learned that the atmosphere is more nitrogen than it is oxygen. Why is that, Dad? Well, oxygen in its purest form gives us challenges. And nitrogen, by the way, is basically the chemical that carries oxygen through our bloodstream. It's the car that gets oxygen to all the places. And now he'll never forget that because we talked about it. Okay? And then or learn by acting things out. But if you film it and you find out that you learn by talking, then every night after class, and you're not going to share these videos with anybody. You don't have to put them on YouTube. Just watch them on your phone. Right? Now, you can get a YouTube channel, make it private so that you can go back to these videos like before you have a test, right? And that'll teach you, like, if you learn by talking, which school sucks for people that learn by talking because we don't get to talk. We have to sit there and listen for 8 hours. That's why I struggled in school. So try it. Try all the different things. See what sticks with you. And I guarantee you, once you figure out the thing, like how you actually learn, you'll be doing that and you'll start doing much better in class. So Soul Steps every day says, I'm so happy I caught you live. I'm an INFJ. My husband just told me he wants to separate because of my spiritual beliefs. I'm currently studying to become a spiritual life coach. I thought my self-mastery skills were solid, but I'm struggling to emotionally detach from the situation. We have 3 boys, and I have no clue where to go from here. I truly appreciate your advice. So I don't think anybody would have a clue where to go from there in your situation. And I'm not laughing to make light of it. That's heavy what you just said. So separating for spiritual beliefs, totally understand. Um, Struggling to emotionally detach is what gives me a little bit of pause. Because I don't think in this case, and part of this is how you define it, but I don't know that in this case, emotional detachment is the right move. And I say that kind of 60-40. Right? Let me give you an example of how I had to use emotional detachment. We were fighting our way through the war, and we got to this one place where we were getting some heavy resistance. We heard one of our guys start firing his weapon off, and we ran up there to catch up to where he was because we were a good ways behind him. We needed to understand what was going on and help him if we could. Hold on one second. Hey, guys, can we not make the baby scream? Like, shushing is not going to help anything. Can we not have the baby screaming on the show? So his brothers are terrorizing him. This is what happens when you run a business out of your home. Anyway, the weapons went off. We went out there to provide support. And when we got up to him, he was shaking and shaken. And the reason was the person he had just shot was a woman. The woman jumped out of a vehicle with an AK-47 and was shooting at him. Now, if you don't know anything about the military back in those days, we're not exactly trained to kill women. We come from a society that's very patriarchal. We're taught to protect women, that they're the fairer sex, all these stereotypes that are true, not true. That's not the important thing. He wasn't trained to do that, and it effed him up. I remember saying to him, shake it off. We've got more fight to do. Now, in the moment, he needed to emotionally detach because if he got emotionally tied to that situation and what he had just done, he was going to cause himself and potentially the rest of our team and put us in danger. Okay? So I think there is some emotional detachment you're going to need to have as it relates to you taking care of your boys and you being there for them. I don't think the right answer is to completely emotionally detach because that's going to require a level of suppression, which in the long term is not going to be healthy. You're going to have to deal with the emotions. Maybe in the short term, you've got to kind of put them to the side because you got to figure out where we're going to live, how am I going to take care of these kids, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But forcing yourself to emotionally detach from a violently emotional situation, I don't know if that's healthy or the right move. Okay? So what I would suggest is talking to, if you can find the time, a professional marriage counselor who can walk you through those steps and what right looks like in your case. Okay, so that in the moments where you do need to be detached, you can be, but in the moments where you need to be engaged, you're not detached all the time. Like when my dad died a couple months ago, I I had to figure out, how do I show my kids the right, like I've got to be strong as the dad and let my kids know that I'm always here for you, and I know it's sad that we lost grandpa, but you know, dad's not going to go crazy because this happened. I'm still going to be here for you, but at the same time, my kids saw me cry. uh, I talked to my oldest son about how sad I was that he was gone, and my son's like, I'm sorry, Dad. I know it's very sad. I'm sad too. So I think all I'm all I'm really saying here is caution, and don't do this alone. Okay, I'd love to be able to help you, but I am not particularly. I do not hold a PhD in how to deal with these situations. Uh, I can kind of walk you through the basics like I'm doing here, but I really think you need a trained professional who knows the ins and outs of the things you're going to experience. I don't know all the things you're going to experience because I've not walked through that or had to walk somebody else. Well, I have had to walk other people through that, but definitely, I would seek out merit. And by the way, counseling for your children. In fact, I have a friend right now who's going through that, and it's hard, and it tears him apart. But he's doing all the right things. He's going to counseling. He's got his kids in counseling. That's I think figuring out how to detach is not your number one priority. Getting your alliance and the people around you that can help you is your number one priority. And you'll know when you need to turn it off, you'll be able to. But having someone in your corner who can help you will definitely help you know when to detach and actually help you do it. Okay? Let's see. Ray says, haha, lol, thanks, B. I didn't really understand what exactly he was meaning by it, but you've clarified things for me. Next question, very briefly. What are the best ways to deal with resistance, as Stephen Pressfield talks about in his nonfiction book series, B? So I think, hey, Kenneth Stevens, what's up? Over there, I'm on Facebook now, too. So I'm on Facebook and YouTube at the same time. Kenneth, very good to see you. So, um, I think Stephen walks you through that 100%. First of all, it's perseverance. That's the first thing. You just have to make up in your mind that you're not going to give into that. But I think the foundation of all perseverance is desire. So you need to figure out something you want bad enough that you're willing to fight for it. I've made videos about that where I have a video called uh, "Motivation is greater or Desire is greater than motivation," because motivation has no fuel if you have no desire. In fact, I have a book. It's not on my favorite shelf. It is one of my favorite books. It's on my shelf of fame up here in my wall bookshelf. That it's called The Journey of Desire. Maybe you should read that. Let's see. Logan says, glad I got here before your channel blows up. You seem very enlightened, so it's great to have the opportunity to ask you questions. Now, you'll still be able to ask me questions. One of the best ways to ask me questions is to follow me on Facebook at BryantChambers page. Hi, Kenna. And send questions there. Because YouTube, having a conversation is not the easiest thing in the world. Sean Murray says, but isn't that just what they call a divorce over there? I'm not sure what that's about. The Knowledge Beast says, why are ENTJs so arrogant? Because ENTJs aren't necessarily arrogant. You got to remember, when somebody calls you arrogant, it's perception. You may not be arrogant at all. But what they perceive as arrogant, maybe to them you are. Yeah. To one person, confidence seems like arrogance. Most people that I run into who are extremely confident, I very rarely, like arrogance to me, here's how I define arrogance. When you tell me you want one thing, but you do stuff that isn't in line with it, you're arrogantly thinking that your actions are going to get you to where you want to be when clearly they're not. Being confident and saying, I'm the best YouTuber that's ever lived. Maybe you are. That's, to me, that's not, I think arrogance is really misunderstood in our society. And I have a hangnail that's getting after it, yo. It's really that's gonna bleed. Anyway, Okay, Taj Marie is still talking to Nair. So hopefully that answer helped Nair as well. Ava Lawrence says, thoughts on an ISFJ, ISTJ friendship? Both are engineers, so they have shared. So yeah, I've talked about this time after time after time. I'm happy to repeat it as many times you guys need me to, but I don't get into the can this personality type get along with this personality type. I don't think Myers-Briggs has anything to do with it, because Myers-Briggs really, when you boil it down, is talking about how you think and process information and how you make decisions. All these other emotional storytelling things we attribute to it. I mean, that's what it is. It's storytelling, right? At the end of the day, like I said, I keep pushing the hexacode test because it's going to measure, like, if you want to know if a friendship's going to work, find out how agreeable and how conscientious the two people are. Friendship solved. And people can be agreeable and conscientious regardless of what their Myers-Briggs type is. You know, there's no two types that are destined to hate each other. What people unfortunately do is they get into a relationship with someone of a specific personality type, and then they just assume, oh, this is how they all are, or this is, all of them are some variation of this thing I really don't like. And it's just not the truth. Like, you're basing it on maybe 10 people you've met without, maybe you're just in a circle of crappy people, regardless of, and that's the thing that's always funny to me. Like, do you not think that this is just a correlation, that they happen to be this personality type and they're just a crappy person, regardless of what their personality type is? All right, let's get ready to wrap up, guys. It's almost 10 o'clock. Ray says, last question. Do you have any advice on how to navigate the picture perfect honeymoon period and see through it while trying to build new relationships, especially romantic ones? Build the relationship before you go on the honeymoon. Like, I really don't understand how we got off on this. A marriage is supposed to be this hyper romantic sex fest when nothing could be further from the truth. Like, the reason why you got so many people struggling in marriages is because they're not friends. Like, they're attracted to each other emotionally and physically, and then yeah, that goes and comes. But they never spent any time like, maybe we should actually like each other, and then that'll help. Like, they wake up a year later and realize, I don't like this person. Well, because you spent the whole year banging each other and kissing on each other and going on dates instead of actually getting to know. Like, my wife and I, 3 conversations in, had more in-depth relationship conversations than most people have in their first year of their relationship. Like, yeah, and I'm not trying to say it like condescendingly. It's just, to me, that's child's play. Like, how's the rest of the world not getting this information? You know, but you know, we live at the level we're taught, and fortunately, I was taught by a lot of people way smarter than me. So I can't. That's why I pay it forward. Let's see, Logan. Glad there are YouTubers that take a more balanced approach to 16 personalities. I keep forgetting the real name for it. I got into watching YouTube videos about them before, but I think the extent that of one of the YouTubers I watched incorporated these system into his life and advice he gave on personality types turned me off to the whole personality test in general. Ava Lawrence says, where did you go to school and what did you study? I went to Hampton University in Hampton, Virginia, and I studied computer science. All right, friends, it's almost 10 o'clock. Last call, speed round questions. Also, if any of you are business owners, entrepreneurs, aspiring influencers on social media, you need to holler at my Social Media Ninja Academy. There are links to it in every description of every video that I make right now. So it's $1,000 program, right? And right now it's $15. It's going directly into the highest level of the program, the VIP program. But regardless of the features and the cost, I lead with that because it's so dramatic. But you got to understand, if you're looking to make money with your presence online, if you're looking to get more followers, subscribers, whatever label you want to put on it, you're looking to build your brand, actually attract people. For me, I use it to attract people to my mission. Right? I talk about the BryantChambers movement, and I have to remind people that the movement is you guys. I am the mouthpiece. You all are the movement, okay? I just happen to be leading it. But the movement is you guys. And so I use social media as a means to spread good information because there's so much bad information that's out there, right? So if that is something you are interested in doing, I work with a lot of entertainers, business owners, entrepreneurs, solopreneurs. I've worked with people who just want to use what I teach to go get a job in social media. Two of which I believe did get like really sweet jobs doing going through my program, or at least one. So think about it. And the reason why I bring it up is because Christmas Day, the sale ends, and it goes back to $1,000 for the program and $37 a month for the VIP program. What you're getting into if you go between now and then is you go straight into the VIP for the $15, and then you can cancel anytime. All right, so I'm just bringing it up because I don't want you all to miss out. A lot of people, you don't watch everything I make, nor do I expect you to, because I am not that awesome. But what I don't want you to do is miss out and be like, yo, this dude was doing this sale. I never heard about it. All right, let's see. Kenna says, marriage is commitment, not exclusively chemistry, in my opinion. 18 years in. You heard it from Kenna. She's absolutely right. Uh, Logan, do you think 16 personalities being more popularized would be helpful to the world? It can't. It's all in how, it's just a tool, right? But it's how people use the tool. Whether it's in the world or out of the world doesn't matter. It's how people use it. If you need to screw in a screw and you go get a hammer, you're going to F your wall up, right? So then the tool, but most people will blame the tool. Like, this hammer destroyed my wall. No, you did, because you used it wrong. And that's what I see is the Myers-Briggs test isn't good or bad. I think there's tests that are better suited to the outcomes we're looking for, which is self-awareness and self-awareness that we can actually apply to situations. But I don't think it being in the world is a good or bad thing. I think when people try to use it like it's a religion, and I believe in the ISFP religion, and if you're not in that or you're a whatever, I can't deal with you. That's when I think it's literally crazy. And but it's only crazy for that person and anybody else who believes that. Let's see. Michaela says, earlier you were talking about a veteran program. Where can I find a link to that? My dad is a veteran, and I'd love to find more resources for him. So BryantChambers.com/Delta Company. If you just go to my website, BryantChambers.com, you can click on Delta Company. It walks people through. There's a lot of stuff there that I haven't started yet, but the main thing that I do right now is for any veteran, we get in touch on LinkedIn, and I will usually give them my phone number, have them call me, and we'll just talk about, are you transitioning out of the military? Is there anything that you're going through that's tough? I know how hard, especially for and I focus mostly on combat veterans, because for us, there's kind of a special challenge that we face when we try to go into the civilian world, because the civilian world doesn't have our perspective. Doesn't make us better. It just makes us, it can make it harder for us to relate if you're like me and you struggle a little bit with empathy and you have to work on it. Right? And it can make having a career tough because people in your job care about things that in your world are like, are you effing kidding me? This is what we're upset about today. I lost a friend that got killed by an IED a month ago. Like, what are we talking about? Right? So definitely. And honestly, if you want, you could just, the easiest way to do it is just have your father link up with me on Facebook, Bryant Chambers page. LinkedIn works too, but Facebook's the best place. And just say, hey, I'm Michaela's dad, and if he's struggling with something or having any challenges, more than happy to jump in and help him out if I can. Ray says, wait, one more. 25 cognitive biases. Why did you stop making those videos? I thought you said you sincerely. I do. I just haven't finished them yet. I didn't stop. Brother's got to have a life. I can't, you guys have to understand, YouTube is not by any stretch the primary thing that I'm doing. You see me a lot because there's times where I can make a lot of content all at once and put it out. I didn't stop doing it. I just haven't finished it yet. Don't worry. I'll get back to it. But a lot of what I'm creating is based on what the audience is reacting to. Like 25 cognitive biases right now, nobody cares about it. So I'll keep making it slowly but surely while I work on other things. Let's see. Let's see. Mehdi says, are there any updates with your kid and his gaming business? Nope. He's still procrastinating. I'm trying to help him figure out what he's what he wants to do. Right now he's trying to learn drop shipping, so he can make money to buy the video games he wants to start making shows with. But he actually, it's not true. He did start making YouTube content. I think he kind of got away from it because the school started back up and stuff like that. But yeah, slowly but surely he's getting there. He's still trying to figure it out. All right, friends, look, it's been real. I'm 3 minutes over time. I got to go hang out with my family. I love every one of you. You got any questions for me outside of this call, hit me up on Facebook. That's Facebook, BryantChambers page on Facebook. Look me up. Like, follow, see first, because if you don't, you won't see anything that I post, because Facebook wants me to pay for you to see my stuff, which I'm cool with. But if you do it that way, then I don't have to pay to send you stuff. Anyway, it's been a pleasure serving each and every one of you. I love you all a great deal. Oh, and before I go, a bunch of you have been asking me about this one-on-one group coaching program that's starting back up in January. It is. Do we still have slots open? Yes. What are we focused on? Helping you accomplish the most important priority in your life by laying a foundation of self-awareness, and then helping you build upon that by understanding the challenges and resistance you will face, and then helping you destroy that one step, one call at a time. And then we have the Facebook group. Basically you're going to be learning everything you need to know about self-awareness in way more depth than I can do on these live calls, where I answer a lot of people's questions. We get into your challenges that you are specifically facing and help you face them properly so that you can overcome them, right? And at the end of the day, we're talking about, if it's career, we're talking about getting you to a place where you can get better jobs or earn more money. Or if you're running your own business, how can you make more money in your business? I just helped one person in particular whose business had been stuck for over a decade, and now they're starting to make progress toward being able to be where they want to be. And all of it came down to a mindset shift. It wasn't how do I get better at sales or how to get better at this. It was all down to mindset. And that is what I focus on, helping you get right from the jump. Okay, for some people it was, I just want to make sure I'm on the right path. And some people it was, I'm having a relationship issue. We cover all of those 4 pillars: health, wealth, love, and happiness. And we help you lay the foundation for however you design and define success. So if you're interested in that, there's links in the description as well. It's BryantChambers.com/coaching. Do not, by the way, both of these programs you guys hear me keep talking about on these videos, I get tired of talking about it. It's the sale for the Christmas thing is over. I'm literally midnight on Christmas. You're gonna go to the website. You're gonna be short. So don't screw around with the Social Media Ninja Academy. You're literally getting it for 98.495% off. Yes, I did the math to figure that out. The coaching program is already discounted by 10 times. Right, you're paying 10 times less what I would charge a client. That's why I don't give discounts there. But we do still have some slots open, but it's limited because I can only effectively coach small groups when I have a bunch of you online at the same time to do one-on-one focus coaching with small groups, okay? So if you're interested in that, that's something you need to pull the trigger on. If you have questions about it, you need to get at me, Bryant Chambers page over on Facebook. Let's talk about it. If you are curious, like you want to get in, but you don't know if it'll work for you, come have a conversation with me offline so I don't have to hijack this video to answer 90 questions. Come talk with me one-on-one, because you may have some personal stuff you don't want the world to know. And just say, hey, can your program help me with this? Here's a hint. Yes, it can. But we'll have that conversation so that you feel more comfortable that what you're about to get into is actually going to work. All of my programs backed by a 30-day money-back guarantee for any reason or no reason. All right, except for in the coaching program, you have to implement what we teach for 30 days before you can ask. Because it requires work for these things to start working. All right, so anyway, I love you guys very much. Remember that we are stronger than I. I'll see you soon.